Great to have you. So I'm looking through and I see that among the things Color of Change is advocating for specific changes to police policies and accountability, calling for the officers who killed George Floyd to be charged with murder, calling for the officers who killed Breonna Taylor to be fired and charged, and you want the president to be removed from Twitter, not just his tweets flagged, by the way. So kicking off there, if I've got that right, what is it exactly that you want Facebook to change?
Well, our issues with Facebook have been years in the making. You know, a number of years ago, we first started our advocacy and engagement with Facebook when they started to have these relationships with law enforcement where in a warrantless way, they would turn off Facebook Live during interactions. A young woman in Baltimore was killed after her Facebook Live was turned off and we had no sort of video. We've had a lot of issues with people being harassed and stalked by law enforcement and others, people, kind of hate groups showing up to people's homes because of Facebook interactions and Facebook not doing anything about it. A couple of years ago, it was revealed in the New York Times that actually Facebook hired this PR firm called Definers to launch a sort of anti-Semitic smear campaign against my organization and our donors as sort of a kind of retaliation for some of the advocacy, while at the same time we had been at the table face to face. And so for years, you know, I've been meeting with Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg and other leaders at Facebook. We have pushed policies. Their current civil rights audit is a result of demands that we made, and we have participated in that audit. And we've worked with them to actually get policies in place. The challenge is getting a company to put policies in place that they then don't enforce. Okay. And so one of the problems has been both in terms of their policies around the census and voting, the four corners of their policy, which sort of speak to disinformation and misinformation. When Donald Trump tweets out direct things that are lies about vote by mail, and Facebook leaves those things up, it violates those policies, and we wonder why have the policies in the first place.
So is it more a matter, you're saying, Rashad, of wanting them to follow good policies that they already have in place versus having new policies? And what about your call to remove the president from Twitter? Jack Dorsey and Twitter have flagged his tweets when there's controversy over, let's say, the truthfulness of the content. Is that along the lines of what you're looking for from Facebook as well, or are you looking for a total removal of voices like that?
Well, here's the thing. If regular citizens can get removed from social media sites for inciting violence, from harassment, then we have to actually have a standard for the most powerful person in the world whose harassment and attacks actually can lead to the type of deep levels of violence that we sort of know. And so to this sort of issue, the question around whether or not it's new policies or enforcement, it's both. You know, we have advocated for a certain set of policies and, you know, in some places have been rebuffed. But when Facebook has moved to actually put policies in place and then they don't actually deal with those policies, don't enforce those policies, that becomes a deeper issue. You know, we have sat at the table and we have been, you know, trying to push, trying to engage, you know, back and forth flights back when we were flying to Molino Park. Long phone calls, memos back and forth, working with other civil rights leaders on this. I've had dinner at Mark's house. You know, so I think it's important for those who are watching to know that this is not some knee-jerk reaction in the middle of a crisis. This is a representation of work that we had thought we had done together. And then when the crisis hits, some of the things that we had achieved, some of the policies that we had moved have been thrown out the window. Mark Zuckerberg talked to Donald Trump right before he decided not to actually remove the content from Facebook platforms that Donald Trump had put out around shooting protesters. He didn't call civil rights leaders on the other side and have conversations about the civil rights implications.